Hi, I'm Bybreen and welcome back to another episode of Soul Stirring Astrology, where I give you my textured take on the world of astrology. Well, this week I'm exploring Uranus because it's a major transit in 2018. Uranus moves into Taurus in May 2018 and will be there until April 2026. So Uranus is just about to leave a fire sign, namely the cardinal sign of Aries, and moving into the fixed sign of Taurus. And so when we're looking at Uranus, and Taurus in particular, Taurus deals with security, and it's the exploration of how your personal, emotional, and financial security, I should say, could be challenged, disrupted, changed for the next 8 years at least. And so wherever Uranus shows up in the chart, Uranus is calling on all of us to show our individuality, which is very different from personality. Personality is made up of the social constructs, vernacular, pop culture, whereas individuality is very much about how you can put your unique fingerprint into the world. It's calling on you to show your inventiveness in some way. And more importantly, it's the call for you to leave the tribe, and that's a tribe of family, society, culture, because Uranus is asking you to transcend your personal profile, your personal biology, your past, and to create something new. It's also anywhere it's showing up in the chart is where you need to be the rebel, where you need to break the rules of convention, because invariably there's this over-reliance on Saturn about being cautious and being conventional and being quite staid. And you may find that actually you can no longer live this way, and if you don't follow the call of Uranus, then you're going to carry out these micro-aggressions in terms of your personality. So let's say, for example, you're not following the call. You might be rebellious, but in really small ways. For example, you might be somebody who is an accountant and you've followed the tried and tested path. You know, your family have said you've got to do it, you were good at maths in school, it's a steady job, and so therefore you've just followed it. But really what's going on inside is that you see yourself as the next Lin-Manuel Miranda, who created Hamilton. If you haven't seen it, go and see it, it's a sensational show. And so, but what you're doing is you're suppressing your true calling, your creativity, which then means that you have these microaggressions to show that you're rebellious, but in really tiny ways. And when you do this, you really are betraying your core individuality. And Uranus is beckoning you to stand up, not so much to be counted, but stand up and to be seen. Because where you don't pay attention to Uranus, it becomes disruptive in ways that conflict with your natural soul's calling. And wherever Uranus shows up, it's asking you to think about how do you step beyond the bounds of what society has said you should be doing? Or how do you challenge convention? Because when you don't challenge convention, what happens is that you get the Furies. The Furies start arising, and they show themselves in the form of anger, jealousy, resentment, revenge, or from people who are challenging your desire for change. And so you either are dealing with the fairies, so you're always continually fighting the world, instead of rising up for what Uranus is beckoning you to become. So I'm going to step through Uranus in Taurus through the houses. So in the first house, here you're called upon to be courageous about finding a new way of thinking to bring about insights in a particular area. So Uranus, for example, is associated with electricity, and the scientist and inventor Nikola Tesla was the first person to use electricity. And so if you think about electricity is a resource, Taurus deals with resources, possessions, values. So if you've got Uranus in the first house, where's your courage to come up with something distinct and different that could improve resources or could improve values, for example? Now, when we're dealing with Uranus in the second house, here you might be challenged in terms of looking at your core skill set and finding ways to make money using unusual skills. Or it could be a hobby that you've followed for many years and now you're finding a way to build a business model around it. It's also a case whereby your finances could be disrupted, but it's also a way whereby the way that you're paid changes. So we've got fiat currency, which is, euros and pounds and dollars, but there's this enormous rise of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And so there's a way whereby you might create your own currency or create something where cryptocurrencies are used to trade. So the second house is about the disruption of resources. Uranus in the third house, we're really looking at inventive thinking that could improve, for example, the education system. And here we're dealing with maybe compulsory level education, or it could be that you've come up with some type of course or formula that could improve the quality of lives of people in your neighbourhood, for example. Also with Uranus here, it's calling on you to think about the lessons that you've actually learned and to bring them into fruition, because we're dealing with Taurus here. Uranus in the fourth house could be a disruption in your family structure. You might find it's a time when you can no longer do the conventional family structure. It might be a time that you might enter into a blended family relationship, or for some reason a sudden change takes place and you're uprooting yourself and your family. In the fifth house, it's calling on creativity, and it's the creativity beyond procreation and having children. It's the creativity that enables you to have these kind of flashes of insight that then leads you to creating something really distinctive, really unusual, that makes you become prominent in the world in one way, shape or form. With Uranus in the sixth house, you're dealing with, because it deals with health as well as work. And with regards to health, it could be around the mind-body connection as well as feelings and the external world. And it could be a time of self-exploration. And the question you might ask is, what did I do to produce the patterns that now exist in my life and that are impacting on my health? It could also be a time when you're having sudden remissions from health problems, or you could be getting into alternative medicines to heal yourself. In terms of the world of work, it could be about unusual work, unusual ways of carrying out your work, changes in your patterns of work. Uranus in the seventh house is in the realm of relationships. That's your intimate, personal, close relationships, husband, wife, or long-term partnerships. Now here, there could be the acknowledgement that actually you might be in a long-term marriage or relationship, but it's lifeless, you've outgrown it. And you have the courage now to start addressing and dealing with the issue of the relationship and seeking changes or letting the relationship go. So it could end in divorce or changes in relationship. There's this fantastic series, Humans of New York. It started as a kind of photographic montage and moved into video series. And I remember watching this one in particular. There was a man who'd been married for 40 odd years. They'd raised their children, they'd done the kind of husband and wife thing, raised children, built a life, but actually throughout that time, for too much of that time, he was desperately unhappy. And after 40 odd years of marriage, they had a divorce, and both were then free to become and be the people they truly were meant to be, and that takes courage. If you're remaining in a relationship, there's this urge that the relationship has to change, or it's about you constructing a new identity outside the realm of your relationship. With Uranus in the 8th house, you might find that you're awakened to feelings of lust and jealousy and passion and rage and insecurities. Now Uranus here is asking you, beckoning you to rise above the kind of mundanities of this way of being. So you could find you're in situations that are challenging you to break free of these attitudes. With Uranus in the 9th house, here you're trying to find your own truth and you're breaking away from the guru or the gurus that have existed in your life. So it's about you identifying your own values and your principles on which you build your life. With Uranus in the 10th house, here it's about contributing something original, distinctive, inventive within the world of work or your public standing or your career or profession, but there's something unique that you're contributing. If you're a woman, for example, you might find that once you've made this contribution into the world, now is the time for you to have children because your identity isn't built upon being a mother, for example. So I've got Uranus in the 10th house, and I remember last year I gave a tech talk where I blended tech and astrology, and some people absolutely loved it. Some people, I could just see the horror in their eyes thinking, what have we got here? And then some people actually said, did you mean astronomy? And I said, no, you heard me right the first time, astrology. So that was my contribution into showing my distinctiveness and doing that with comfort and courage and just really with ease. With Uranus in the 11th house, Uranus has come home because the 11th house in the natural zodiac is Aquarius, which Uranus rules. So when Uranus is in the 11th house, here there could be this expansion of how you understand what it means to be part of a group, part of a tribe. And you might find that you're breaking away from the tribe, and that's what Uranus generally is asking you to do, is to break convention from what the tribe says you should and shouldn't be doing. But also it could be a case that you're falling out with people within your tribe, within your friendship network. And the reason for this is because there's a clash of principles and you're prepared to stand and defend your individuality around the principles that are dear and meaningful to you. So it could be a case of loss of friendships. With Uranus in the 12th house, you're coming into the realm, you're really delving into the unconscious way of living and being. And what you might find is that you set up a business or a project or an idea, you bring it into fruition, and it's the journey of helping people back into themselves. So it could be something metaphysical, it could be something actually physical because we've got the 12th house which is opposite the 6th house. So anything that enables people to journey back into themselves is very much the terrain of the 12th house. So there you have it, beautiful people. Uranus for the next 8 years will be in Taurus. There's going to be disruptions. It's about how you rise to meet the disruptions, because the more you shrink and you pull away from who you're truly meant to be, you're going to be living your life, of regret, but also these microaggressions, you know, trying to show your individuality, but you're doing it in quite a small way, you know, which isn't enabling you to grow and to show what is truly unique about you. So that's it, beautiful people. Put your comments and questions and queries and hellos in the comment box below. Let's get some dialogue going around this. I'd love to know where your Uranus is, what house it's in, who you've been up until this point, and who you plan to be over the next 8 years when you really launch your Uranian uniqueness into the world. So feel free to share this episode with anybody in your network, like and subscribe to my channel, and if you would like a personal reading of anything in the astrological realm that pertains to your life, drop me an email at bybreensamuels@googlemail.com. And also, I've got a biz dev background, so if you're looking to build a strategy in terms of your life strategy and where you're going and how astrology can facilitate that, and then blending that with biz dev, I've got a strong biz dev background, raising money, structuring organisations, and you're looking at launching this new identity of yours that could involve some kind of startup and strategic insights. Equally, drop me an email at bybreensamuels@googlemail.com. So until we speak again, bye.